Hello, this is Dr. Jillian Camwell from Troy University, here with your 2024 Alabama All-State Etude, the technical Etude. This is a tricky one. This is number 2 from Fairling's 48 studies for oboe, and it's quite quick at quarter note equals 104. I highly recommend, of course, when you're practicing, starting much slower and seeing how far you can get, how close you can get to 104 while maintaining accurate rhythms and clean playing. It's much more important to play this cleanly than it is up to 104. You're going to stop at the end of, or rather the beginning of measure 10, so play that quarter note G, and that is the conclusion of your audition piece for Allstate. But of course there's a full version available of this at the beginning of this video. The very trickiest rhythm of this piece is probably that first measure, which comes over and over again, and it has the dotted rhythm at the end of the beat. So just be careful that you're subdividing, and if you're thinking this under tempo, you can click along, you can put your metronome on, you can clap, you can count, but make sure you can sing your rhythm. So if you're clicking under tempo, quarter note pulse, da 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 da. Da 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 da. So really watch out where you're placing that 30-second. It's a really small note at the end, and it's tricky to tongue it quickly. So when you're tonguing on oboe, including things like these ascending scales where we have ta 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 ta, if you tongue with a tut, it's going to bog you down. So we don't want to play with a ta at the end of our sound. It should really, you should really be thinking T-A-H, ta, instead of T-U-T, tut. So if we just play with a tut, you're going to have to end every single sound with a ta, and it's going to make it slower for you. So ta 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 instead of tut 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 tut. It makes it very, very pecky as well. And oboe is already pretty easy to sound short and make short sounds and short articulations. I would really watch out for different patterns. When you're learning this, you can notice when you're playing a chromatic scale, so you can plug and play. This is why we practice things like chromatic scales. And when it turns into a scale or a diatonic scale like D, C, B at the end here. So it's not a chromatic scale all the way from A flat down to low B. Here we have our high D, and you're going again all the way down. It's chromatic all the way down to the A. So look out for where you can plug and play the scales that you've already learned. For example, here we have a C major scale all the way up to here, and we just have some different articulations that we plug in along the way. Measure 4, we have another pattern that should be recognizable. If you're not quite sure what chord that is a dominant 7th chord. It's a G chord, so but it's playing in a descending pattern. This is again why we practice our arpeggios. Next thing, even maybe the first thing I would do before you go through and learning this piece is mark some fingerings in. So we have quite a lot of F sharps as we go through, but look out for your F naturals in particular. So let's do a little F and F sharp scavenger hunt. So our first measure, we've got 2 F sharps, so we want to make sure that the accidentals carry through the measure. We've got F sharps in measure 2. Measure 3 is very tricky because we're going from this low B, especially at a higher tempo. We have to make a decision of what F we're going to play on this F here. So your choices would be regular F, forked F, which I mark with an X, or left F. Well, because we're using our left pinky for that low B natural, left F is out. That is not going to be an easy option. You could certainly use forked F. Going down from low B to a forked F is pretty easy. That's maybe an ideal choice. However, we have to play the E natural following that forked F. So that can be tricky to play cleanly. And whenever we play a note, an F before or after an E natural, we want to try to stick to a regular or a left F. So we've already determined that left F is out. So I personally use the regular F for this F fingering, even though it's tricky to get there from our low B. So we can lift off this B as quickly as we can to get to a regular F. If you're more comfortable playing forked F, go ahead, but just know that we have to play F to E natural as cleanly as possible. That was a lot of talk about F, sorry. This next F in the measure is going to be a regular F because, again, we're coming from an E natural. So you want to ask yourself, what is the note before the F and what is the note after F? And whatever fingering is going to enable us to play it as smoothly and easily as possible. Measure 4, we know that we're playing a chromatic scale, so we're probably going to use regular F here, unless you really love left F, but definitely not forked F in this case. When we get to the end of the measure, with that arpeggio, that dominant seventh arpeggio, you're going to use either left F or forked. And I would really only use forked F if you don't have a left F on your oboe. Try to get in the habit of using your left F whenever you can, and it'll become easier and more comfortable with more frequent use. We want to reserve the forked F for when absolutely necessary. Here we have just a scale pattern coming from an E natural and going to a G, so regular F is a good choice here, as well as here. I don't even mark the regular Fs typically unless it's a special circumstance that I would not normally use it. I'm just going to use it all the time. Here we have another F right here. Here is a perfect example in measure 7 of where we would use left F if you have it on your oboe. If you're not sure if you have left F or not, look at the group of pinky keys on that your left pinky would use, your left hand pinky. If you have 3 keys that your left hand pinky uses, you do not have left F. You have A flat, left E flat, and you have a low B key. You do not have a low B flat key, and you do not have a left F key. If you have 5 keys with that on the left side, then you do have a left F, and it is the farthest button away from your pinky. But it's easy enough to use once you get used to it. Going through, we have some F sharps in this measure. Don't forget that they carry through. And then we have a chromatic passage. So again, we're going to use regular F when we have a chromatic scale or a diatonic scale coming from or going to an E natural. I hope that was helpful for you as you start preparing your technical etude for Allstate. Let me know, reach out if you have any questions. My email address is jcamwell@troy.edu. Have fun at Allstate, and I hope to see you there. Thanks very much.